Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the issue of online bots. This has sort of come up as a byproduct, or we've heard about it before, but it's particularly come up as a byproduct of Elon Musk's foray into Twitter. Now, as I understand it, the value of the share market value of Twitter or any online organization for that matter is or part of that valuation is determined by the amount of traffic that is on the site. So this is something that, say, in the case of advertising, you'd say, well, there's a million or 100 million or whatever views of tweets, and therefore that represents a notional value in say advertising exposure and eyeball time and that sort of thing. And so that would be part of the valuation, the share price valuation of the company. But if in fact a proportion of those alleged views and online activity that's supposed to exist, if a proportion of that was just computer-generated bots and not real people and not real eyeballs, then the value of the shares would come into question. Maybe they're worth half what they're supposed to be, or three quarters, or more or less, or whatever it might be. But the bots issue is an issue. Now, I don't know how many bots are out there and under what circumstances that they're activated or comments from bots are generated. But there's enough sort of AI, artificial intelligence, out there that a lot of the posts can appear to be from real people, but they're not. And you kind of can start to pick them after a while. There's a certain sort of wooden consistency in them that I think that's a bot. And then when you go and try and find the person, they sort of don't seem to really exist, and they've got no real online presence, or it came on yesterday and it's gone the following day. So there's a huge high churn rate of your bot identities coming on and off the internet. There's also, but this is happening all. I noticed it a while ago on stuff. For example, in fact, this is a recent example on a business website. Now, nearly all the business websites now have become super woke. I mean, we're talking stratospherically woke. All they talk about, they don't talk about new products or new technologies. That may get mentioned only in passing. The real issue that these business websites exist now is to tell us about transgender bathrooms and black lesbians and how many black lesbian engineers or something that a company hired, or IT experts are all black lesbians, and so on. So it's really become just a wokerati sort of extravaganza on business websites, for fuck's sake. Now, there's a time not long ago when business websites were for business, business announcements, such as the release of a new product or upgrading to a newer technology or something like that, or maybe a major price change on a major product and so on and so forth. But no longer. In fact, you're lucky to see any of that. You can go for days on some of these business websites and not see anything about fucking business, or it's so far down the priority page so that they're artificially prioritizing anything to do with transgender this or black lesbian that and so on. Now, recently there was a posting that it's not news, but somehow it ended up in the news feed. God knows how. A guy pointing out that his daughter has become a lesbian and then a transgender or something like that, and how she's doing something rather. there was something personal about his daughter's decide and now identifies as a black lesbian. Now, I happened to be online when that story popped into the feed, and so it was live for just a few seconds, 1 or 2 seconds. I saw it literally as it popped up on the screen. So but somehow it had 600 likes. There was hundreds of comments. You go girl, stunning and brave, and those sort of things. Every platitude you can imagine, and that was all had happened in 3 seconds. So that clearly hadn't happened. That wasn't people who would have had time to read it and think, now what will I say, and then write something. That would have taken some time. So everything just came out bump in a huge dump of responses and so on. So this is clearly bot driven. And so once I noticed that, I then started to look for it around, and there's actually a lot of it about. There's a lot of the stories, the business stories, have to rely on sort of their own merit. But if there's anything about black lesbians or transgenders, then this avalanche of accolades comes, and that's all bot driven. So what the business website is doing here is they're artificially prioritizing black, lesbian, transgender stories, for example, and then ensuring that these receive, rave reviews and accolades and support, and stunning and brave, and all that sort of stuff. So they're clearly giving it that priority, and then talking it up and making it. And they're also sort of the story of the hour or story of the day, and these sorts of things, or article of the day. They're artificially boosting those so that the black lesbian story always goes to the top. And so this is how so the bots thing is a big thing. Now, whether it's bots as in computer generated, or bots as in fake adverts, it kind of doesn't matter, because they're sort of chasing almost the same purpose. Now, there's another one where this is again on a business website. One poster said something along the lines of so somebody had been fired from a senior executive role for the most horrible failure, and they were a homosexual Asian man, and this was a company that was talking big and tough about how they wanted to be more diverse and this, that, and the next thing. And as soon as they started that propaganda, up pops a senior executive vice president who's a gay Asian guy who's obviously seriously underqualified for the role, but they give him this job, and he just makes such a terrible mess of it. They kind of got to get rid of him, which they didn't really want to do. They tried to do it quietly, but it ended up so they were being accused of being homophobic and racist and this sort of thing. One of the people that commenting on this story said, well, given that the guy was a diversity hire, he clearly wasn't up to the job, and it was inappropriate of the company to give a job to a guy who clearly couldn't do it, purely on the basis that he was a gay Asian. So now at that moment, within seconds of that posting by some guy, there was this avalanche of condemnation. Hundreds of people condemning this post as being racist and homophobic and Nazi and fascist, and Hitler, and it just all came in this absolute tsunami. So clearly that was bot driven. The timing, you just can't get that from people that don't exist, by the way. But so the bot thing is there to defame those who don't have the right opinions, and to artificially boost and glorify woke opinions. And again, on a business website, for fuck's sake. So coming on the other side of it now, bots, there's nearly every online interaction that especially that brings parties together, particularly that. Every online interaction that you see is heavily stacked with bait and switch and artificial activity to sort of high activity levels. This is the right website to be visiting. Look at all this activity. Look at all this buzz. Look at all this action. You're in the right place. When in reality, that buzz, action, that activity is all bot generated and fake adverts and so on. And you see this across the board. Again, particularly where they're bringing parties together. So say in the case of, real estate advertisements. Not so much selling, but that too, but more rental. So advertising rental properties that don't exist, for example, is one. Um, Things like holiday homes and holiday lets. That's a terrible one, where beach house for rent for the vacation season, on the beach and 20, 25 yards from the ocean front or something like that. These sorts of things. And yet when I've actually been through this, when you say, yeah, okay, well, I'd like that, that's price seems reasonable. Look, somebody just rented it just a second ago. Just a second. I've just put the phone down. Incredible. Oh, well, you just called just as I rented it. But I've got another one that's like a mile back from the beach. Maybe you'd like that. So clearly it's a bait and switch. It's bullshit. There was no fucking beachfront house. That's just there to pull you in. And various rentals and so on try that. Rental agencies try that on, but it's so well worn that they all fucking do it, and that's like the standard go-to method of sucking people in. You'd also get the same, say, in the employment. This job sounds too good to be true, and somebody, I don't know, sends in a CV, or they call up about it or whatever, and we just filled it. Just filled the role a second. Just what? Look, it is unbelievable. We have just given that job. I mean, if only you'd called 5 minutes earlier. So there's that type of thing goes on. So there's a lot of that. And even I bought something online recently. It's not the first time, and I was quite keen to check that it was. I needed it quickly, so I needed to know it was in stock and they could ship it on the same day. And I was assured, yep, in stock, off the shelf. I can pop it in the, the courier can pick it up today. I mean, you'll have it in no time. And of course, the minute I place the order and give the credit card details, we just ran out. Isn't this incredible? I just sold them out. I mean, there was like a million of them on the shelf, and they all sold out the second before we got your order. So you're going to have to wait a few days, and it ended up taking like fucking 10 days to get this thing. It was supposed to get here in 2 days. So these sort of things are going on all over, and they artificially inflate share prices and give the sense of activity when there is no activity or much less activity. So I think bots are a big thing, but I'd be interested in seeing your comments and what you think are bots, whether they're giving the false impression of high levels of activity or it's fake adverts or something like that. It's all a sort of a bot universe. And we're delving in the world of algorithms and so on now that suppress this and boost that. But I'd like to see your opinion below. You've been with Tassus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for listening.